High school dropouts, how's life doing for you? Serious. I dropped out 6 weeks before graduation. I'd gotten kicked out of my house because a teacher saw bruises on me from a fight with my stepfather and reported them to the nurse who reported them to the police. Kinda hard to go to school when you don't even know where you'll be living the next day. I got my get a couple of months later and went to college for a year. I had to leave school because of money. I wasn't getting any help paying for it. And the school was too expensive. I had a second back surgery that left me in a wheelchair in 1997. I started getting disability in 1998. I took a medical transcription course and started working in 2002-2003 and got off SSDI. In 2009-2010, my disability and pain increased quite a bit. So I had to stop working and got back on SSDI. TLDR, my life sucks beyond the telling of it. But not because I dropped out of high school. Started developing software at a very young age. During middle school I would skip class to go home and write QBasic while my buddies were smoking pot. Senior year in HS I landed, purely by luck, an internship with a small startup developing a Flash platform to replace a clunky distributed Windows app. I took my get halfway through the year and went full time with the startup. 5 years later the startup went platinum and sold. I received a bit from the payout. Fast forward 6 years and here I am in a lead development position making 6 figures with no formal education in the field whatsoever. I dropped out of high school when I was 16. I then started taking classes at a community college while working as an assistant at an office. I got my GED when I was 17. Graduated community college at 18. Then I transferred to a big, pretty prestigious state school where I graduated from at 20. I then got a job at a commercial bank and after working there for 2 years I went back to school and got my master's at a very good school. Since then I have been working in marketing and consider myself very successful. Dropping out of high school does not make you a loser. Sometimes it is the right choice for you. Sometime I regret not having a prom or something like that. But I know that I made the right decision. I was having serious family issues and was struggling with depression at the time and I knew that I would end up failing out if I stayed. Making the choice I did, though many people didn't support or understand it at the time, was what was right for me. And where I am in my life right now makes me so proud of myself. I also have been much more successful than any of my classmates who did not drop out. Long story short, I dropped out because it was either work or starve due to hitty home life. Got my GED immediately because I knew not having it would be horrible when it came to getting a job later in life. I own my own home, drive a nice car, and have enough money on the bank for a lengthy emergency if need be. I never went to college. Bottom line, I'm okay. I'm not a millionaire but I'm not starving either. I'm surviving, I'm happy. That's all that matters. So, basically the same as most high school grads then. Hardly. This guy's saved money and owns his own home. Dropped out on my 18th birthday senior year of high school. Maybe 5 months of school left. I had less than 1 stroke to the required credits to graduate. And my father supported my decision. Making $10 per hour was hard. Jobs were crap. Pulled an internet scam that ended up getting me 45 days on the side of the freeway picking up trash. So here I am. A 19-year-old loser. I realized I don't want to drink, party, and skate through life making just enough. So I did something about it, taught myself to program, got better at Linux, and worked my ass off. 2 years of working 9-5 at an office for $15 per hour doing menial work. Then doing a 6-6 12-hour shift at a local data center. When I wasn't answering support calls, I was writing code and working on servers. Every dime I made I put back into a small hosting company I made to host customers I programmed for. Expanding my customer base. etc. At 21, I was making enough money to quit my day job. At 22 I moved out of the country for the first time. I just turned 28, I'm married. have a kid. And netted just short of $200K in 2013. I continue to work my ass off every single day because that type of investment will pay off for my family and I in the long term. In all seriousness, dropping out of high school and getting my GED has not set me back at all. I work for a world-renowned corporation making more than enough money to support myself as I work through college. Some people are school smart. Some are street smart. A lot of people have done well without finishing school. I finished high school and have an associate's degree. I am still working those retail jobs that people said I would be stuck in if I didn't go to college. I apply for jobs almost every day, interview, and have had no luck getting something better. I have a full-time job doing something I love. I work along people with college degrees and in some cases make more than them. On the other hand, the journey has been twice as long and twice as hard. 4 years it was all whatever work I can get types of jobs. As of late I have been thinking about getting a GED and taking some college courses. I only recently felt ready. A tale of two cities. My dad never graduated high school. He went on to become a licensed towboat pilot. Stayed with the same company for 30 years. Make $175K a year. Was given a working severance of $200K when the company sold. The new owners kept him on at the same salary. He has everything he could ever want and will retire in 2 years with a little north of 1.2 million in savings / 401K. He refused to let me get my license when I worked on towboats because he didn't want me to get stuck on the river. I graduated high school and college and have a meaningless job and make less than $40K a year. Tale of two generations right there. This is far more accurate. Dropped out at 17. Was never a homework person. I always aced tests and quizzes and essays. But no homework and an absolutely abhorrent school atmosphere led to my decision to leave school. I immediately got a full-time job at a shoe department and moved out. Money has been an issue since. I've always been right at the border of looks like it's Kraft single slices of cheese for dinner and hey. I have $25 for the week after I paid for gas. Hell yes. It's been 8 years since I dropped out and moved out. I've moved to a bigger city. Worked a bunch of crappy jobs. Lived in some mediocre apartments. Unfortunately, I was able to get my dream job, working at a butterfly conservatory caring for animals and educating the public. But it was a home-owned business and after 2 years they couldn't afford my wages anymore. I'm now a bakery manager for a local grocery chain. It's alright. I eventually plan on moving to Texas and furthering my education. Hopefully into entomology. But it'll take a while to work up the money. I don't regret dropping out. It was definitely the right choice for me as I was going nowhere in high school. It's been extremely difficult. But it's given me the time, space and freedom to discover who I am and how to be independent. I was arrested when I was in high school for vandalizing my high school. Which included stealing the payphone and the booth it was on. Thus I had to drop out in order to avoid being kicked out. I'm in my early 30s now and life is pretty decent. I graduated with a weird thing that's between a degree and a GED. And I was allowed to graduate earlier than I normally would have. Not being in school and having a reputation with being good with computers landed me my first job. My first job landed me my second job of doing the ed work for a very small college. I impressed a VP while working for their contractors so they hired me. Eventually I left, moved to a different state and became a programmer. I make in the top 10% of us personal income and I'm not too far from 5th quintile household income by myself. Whenever my girlfriend holds down a job it puts us into 5th quintile. So all in all it worked out pretty well for me. I've got no college debt to pay off. I make good money. I've got a girlfriend and all that good junk. Most people I work with just assume I have a college degree. But I also acknowledge this is probably not the general trajectory that dropping out sets you on. Honestly, most of my associates my age who have HS degrees are in the same position as me, struggling at hitty jobs that pay on average $10 an hour. So in the scope of things, having an HS degree did not make much of a difference between me and them. On the other hand, my choosing to drop out of HS and get a GED caused a gap in time where normally people head off to college instead. I started working so I could buy a car, clothes, etc. and go party and date boys. If there is any reason where I wish I had chosen to stay in HS, it would have been so that I could have followed the natural progression and went straight to college afterward. As there is difference in my associates and I are those who went to college. Most of them did better than my friends who just completed HS. In other words, HS didn't make a big difference. But college sure does. I wish I had continued on a scholastic path instead of jumping off. Years later, I went back to school but had a kid in the meantime, so it was extra hard work. I ended up not finishing. And now not only did I not get a degree, but I also owe a hit ton of money in student loans. I was kicked out of high school for missing a string of classes I didn't need. In my final year, with the time I missed, I was putting extra hours into my jobs. I was 1 credit away from graduating. The vice principal that did it was very smug and laughed at any argument I had. That really put me off education for a while. Things are going pretty great for me now. I've been cooking since that year, and it's the one job I've never gotten tired of. I've worked and learned from a lot of talented chefs, and at this point I'm running a kitchen. I seriously love my job, and it's what I'd be doing whether or not I'd graduated. I think my case is rare, but I'm 21 now and happily married. I work in accounting and my husband builds boats. We're hoping to start building on our house soon and then have kids when I'm about 25. I'm in the process of writing a book, although I don't care about getting published. I just enjoy it. Basically, I would never recommend dropping out. But school isn't everything and it doesn't determine your intelligence. I dropped out of my honors and AP courses because of decisions the school made regarding their treatment of students. Shocked the hell out of everyone, but I don't regret it and my life is great. I make $30,000 a year, which may not be much, but it's a good supplemental income to my husband who makes a lot more. And I have good health insurance. And that's worth a lot to me. Edit because someone suggested it. My husband worked at a supermarket when we met. I was not a gold digger and he was not Mr. Moneybags. We lived for a full year off ramen noodles, and the first winter we spent in our house together we couldn't even afford heat and it was so cold we could see our breath. We woke up every day and chose each other. We worked hard and now, though we are both in our early 20s, make about $75,000 a year and have no debt. Not rich, but not dirt poor. I'm glad we were poor because it made loving each other a challenge and we learned what it was to live off love. Sometimes even now I miss those days. Sigmund Freud once said, "One day, in retrospect, the years of struggle will strike you as the most beautiful." I believe that's true. Yeah, I'll have a good day. Pretty badly if I'm completely honest. I do have a job which I enjoy for the most part, but it took me far too long to get it. People hold a different opinion of me when I tell them, and it's generally a bad one. I just feel as if more opportunities would have been granted to me had I finished. I feel sort of incomplete in a way. And sometimes I actually get kinda depressed and upset at myself for not sticking to high school. And the fact that I can't change that I chose not to get to the end of it. Oh well.